evening, everyone, and welcome to the Michigan City Park Board meeting of Wednesday, January 8th, 2020. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And Happy New Year to everyone, our first meeting of 2020. Shannon, can you call the roll, please?
Mr. Latchford?
Here.
Mr. Freeze?
Here.
Mr. Lang?
Here.
Ms. Espar?
Here.
Since it is the first meeting of 2020, we have election of officers to kick off the meeting, and the first one would be the Park Board President. Do we have any nominations for the Park Board President?
Mr. President, I would like to nominate re-elect you as President of the Park Board for 2020.
All right.
I would second that.
Thank you.
Roll call. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries.
All right, next is the nomination for Vice President.
I would like to nominate the current Vice President, Mr. Freeze.
And I would second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries.
All right, and then finally, Park Board Secretary for the 2020 calendar year.
Mr. President, I'd like to nominate that Kent Lang remain Park Board Secretary for 2020.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries.
Thank you very much. We'll move right on to the appointment of the 2020 liaisons. The first one is the Planning Commission.
Mr. President, I would like to nominate Ms. Espar for that position.
I'd be happy to second that.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries.
Very good. We'll move right on to Port Authority. Any nominations for the Port Authority liaison?
I'll nominate myself if nobody else wants.
We thought you were going to do that anyway, so. But I will be happy to second that.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries.
And we also have a liaison to the Zoo Society Board. Any nominations for that position?
Yes, Mr. President, I would hope that Mr. Lang would remain as a Zoo Society liaison.
I'd be happy to do that.
We have a second?
Oh, yes, I would second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries.
Very good. Thank you. We next on the agenda are the minutes from our December 18th, 2019 meeting. They were presented to us prior to the meeting, so if there are no corrections, additions, do you have a motion to approve?
So moved, the minutes as printed.
I would second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries.
We have old business, some project updates, Jeremy?
Thank you,
You're welcome.
and Happy New Year to everyone as well. For the ESG project, not a lot new to report, being that the holiday season everyone kind of slowed down a little bit, but we do have a meeting tomorrow where hopefully I'll gather some more information. But for the most part, outside of a little bit of repair at the senior center with the heating unit, the majority of the park department work for this project has been completed. Now, if we look further to potential additional work out of Patriot Park, that might be something that comes down the road. But for the most part, the park department work is completed, but I will get a full update at our meeting tomorrow.
Thank you.
And on our old Lighthouse Museum project, we're just waiting on the signed contract to be returned, and then so we can issue the notice to proceed. So just kind of in the beginning phases of that process.
Thank you, Jeremy. Any questions on those? All right, seeing none, we'll move on to accept quotes for the beach mats. So first we'll ask if there's anyone here tonight to submit a quote that hasn't already submitted one, and it doesn't look like it. So we'll close the submission period and move on to opening the quotes that we have received for the beach mats. Shannon, can you open the ones? How many do we receive?
We received 4.
Great.
The first one is from Deschamps Mats System out of Cedar Grove, New Jersey. It was received yesterday at 10:40 a.m. This particular company submitted 2 quotes because they have 2 different products. So we allowed them to submit both. Sample. And their overall price is $52,072.20. These are for 6 foot by 5 foot panels.
You.
The second quote is from the same company. It was received yesterday at the same time. Another sample.
Exactly the same.
We won't have to pay.
And this is for a 6 foot by 4 foot section. Total price $54,556.20. The third quote is from Matrax out of Columbia, Maine. I'm sorry, not Maine, Maryland. This was received on December 20th at 2:14 p.m. with a base bid of $64,569.60. Final quote was received from Access Rec, Clifton, New Jersey. It was received on December 12th at 2:26 p.m. And they came in with a base quote of $64,267.52. I would like to remind the board this project is partially funded by Lake Michigan Coastal Program Grant. So I asked the board that we hold these over and let Jeremy and I review the bids and then review them with our grant specialist as well, and then bring a recommendation back to this board at your next meeting.
Thank you, Shannon. And for the sake of the public, can you just review what these mats, the purpose of them, and the location where they'll be set for the spring and summer?
Yes. So again, it was a coastal grant to provide erosion control and public access in Sheridan Beach. There's a total of 4 beach paths that will have these hard surface mats installed. It's California, Illinois, Georgia, and help me out, what's the fourth? What's that? And Louisiana avenues, thank you. The mats will be between 200 and 400 feet in length, depending on the contouring of the paths. We have gone out and walked all of these. We don't believe that we're going to have to do any excavation work, which is great. Once these mats are installed by the Park Maintenance Department, we will hire a contractor to come in and plant native marram grass up to 3 inches on each side of each of these paths, and that goes with our land management plan, the recommendations from there. So this is a great project. The mats are similar to what we have at the senior center. They really do improve access. California will probably be the most widely used, I expect, because it's got more of a grade. And we're looking at installation April, early May, but prior to Memorial Day.
Thank you, Shannon.
You're welcome.
Any questions?
Just for clarification, the planting of the marram grass is not included in this, is just the cost of the mats.
So the grant covers the planting of the marram grass as well.
Oh, the grant, okay.
That's
Their-
the erosion.
Their bids are just,
These bids are for the mats alone, and then we'll put an RFP out for a contractor to come in. That's the erosion control portion.
okay, thank you.
Get rid of all that loose sand lying around.
Now, in the fall, these mats will then be taken up again, just as the one by the senior center, correct?
So our thoughts are to do a test path and leave probably not an entire mat out there, but a partial pathway through the wintertime, just to see how it fares if it's covered up with sand. If it's something that will last 20 years and we can leave it out, that's great, because it cuts down on our labor costs. So we'll do a test path and see how
Okay.
that works out.
Excuse me, Shannon, is there any info about the durability of those mats, those type of mats? Or, I mean, you said we're gonna, and I think it's a good idea to experiment with partial trail. I just wondered if they sent any.
So the warranties on these are going to vary between these companies. I think 7 years is the top warranty. These products are fairly new, so a lot of the companies that are producing them aren't giving warranty information out yet because they just don't know.
Okay.
The majority of the country that has these types of mats, it's going to be in the state of Florida.
Thank you.
So totally different climate up here.
Yeah.
They're just not willing to like put out a 10 or 15-year warranty. Now, the Parks Department does need to maintain these paths for 20 years under the grant agreement.
How long have we had the senior center mats? And are we
4 years, I
satisfied?
believe.
And we're satisfied with those, the condition of them?
Mhm.
And these are similar in construction and type?
Correct.
Thank you. Any other questions? Any other questions from the public? All right. So I think what Shannon requested was that we table these and allow both Shannon and Jeremy to review the bid to make sure they're in compliance with all the specifications and the qualifications from NDOT, or not NDOT, but
Lake Michigan Coastal Program.
thank you.
Phil.
I'm sorry, I did have a question. My name is Alina Yersaida. I'm at 125 East Harrison Street.
Hello, welcome.
I was thinking in terms of walkways in that, and I know that in some areas there's wood walkways, and I didn't know if that's something that had been looked at or is feasible or, that kind of thing. So I just wanted to ask.
We did have some engineers look into some elevated walkways from Fetter's Alley out to the beach, and they came back and they're very expensive, upwards of probably $1 million to accomplish those. And here we're looking at about $89,000 or $88,000. So there's the elevated ones would be less impactful on the dunes, which would be great, but finding funding for that right now is difficult. Where these paths, the funding's available, especially with the grant, and they provide dual access. It improves beach access and it helps control the erosion. So that's the most affordable option that we have right now. But what you suggest is probably the better option. It's just right now we don't have the funds to go down that path.
So if I could expound on that, the two elevated boardwalks in Fetter's Alley have been fully engineered, and that was done through a grant as well. And as Mr. Latchford stated, the larger path was just under 1.5 million, and the smaller one without the bump out decks, I believe is 1.1 million. So I am actively seeking grant funding to try to get at least one of those built out, but they're very expensive.
Any other questions?
Is
Yes.
it the labor cost that's expensive or the actual materials that's expensive?
Yeah, it's a great question. I don't have these specs in front of me, but I was kind of blown away too when we got those quotes, because who would think
Yeah, because
that pathway would be $1 million? But
Right.
they were concrete bases, and I believe they were metal or concrete, actually decking as well. And they did an analysis between the concrete decking and wood decking, and they looked, the people who prepared the study looked over the course of 30 to 40 years to see which one would be less expensive when you take into account the maintenance of the wooden paths. And it proved to be, there was a break-even point of about 28 years. Anything before then, the wooden would be less expensive. Anything beyond that, it'd be more expensive.
Okay, thank you so much.
You're welcome. Don't quote me on the exact return on investment of those years, but it was kind of in that neighborhood,
It's
if I
close,
remember.
yeah.
We're happy to show those documents to you if you have, or if anyone else wants to see the analysis.
Yeah, I am kind of blown away that it's
It's a lot of money, yes.
thinking of, decking material.
I was under the same impression, and then,
Yeah.
I was, I guess, informed of all the different things that had to be taken into consideration, and it's not like building a deck outside of my sliding door. It's much more involved.
Well, one of our main concerns too is not disturbing the dune. So it's the method of construction. The concrete can be put in place without going outside of the footprint of the actual deck, whereas the wooden decking cannot. So you've got bulldozers and equipment that are, destroying a dune habitat that we just restored. So that was a big consideration as well.
I noticed that you opened up all of the bids, and I wasn't aware of any of this. I try to keep up on the eMichigan City as much as I can. If I find someone who has something cheaper and the same type of material, am I okay to have them submit a bid, or since the bids are open, then that's how it works?
That's correct, but if you do have a vendor, please get them in touch with me because these,
Okay.
We've got 13 dedicated paths, so this is only doing 4 of them.
Oh, okay.
So in the future, this is probably a program we would try to continue if there's grant funding available.
Okay, thank you.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you. So do we have what's the pleasure of the board in regard to the beach mat quotes?
I would like to table this until Jeremy and Shannon and perhaps our attorney have a opportunity to go over these quotes that have been sent in, make sure all the papers are in place, and then figure in the grant and then come up with a total price. Do I need to put a time on that? Would the next meeting be okay? For our January 22 meeting.
I would second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries.
Thank you. Any tabled business tonight, Shannon?
No, sir.
All right, move on to new business, and the first one's a Sunset Grill tenant credit request. Jeremy?
Thank you. And over the past year and a half or so, Patrick Wilkins, who is the owner of Sunset Grill down at North Point Pavilion, has made significant investments into the facility itself for his operation, but also for the facility. When North Point Pavilion was originally constructed, it wasn't constructed, I guess, to house more of a restaurant style. It was designed for a concession operation. So with that, Mr. Wilkins had put a significant amount of electrical infrastructure into the facility to the tune of $5,218.50. And he is requesting, and I am, in favor of this request to grant him tenant credits in that same amount, $5,218.50 in the year 2020 for this work. And the reason why is he did additional work. This was only probably a fraction of his cost that he put in. The other cost was associated specifically to the bar or up on the rooftop, and if he is to vacate or in terms of his contract expire and he does not come back and that bar goes away, that stuff goes with it potentially. So this is only attributed to the electrical infrastructure that was put into the facility itself. So long after he is potentially gone, or there's a new tenant in there, or he continues his operation for years on end, that will remain with the facility. So I want to make sure that is clear, that we're not, he is not requesting, nor are we looking to grant credits for something that he wanted to do on his own, but that this is for the facility itself. We were continuously blowing breakers constantly. If the music was on or the lights were on, and they wanted to fire up an oven, or the freezers or whatever it might be, they were blowing breakers constantly. So it just wasn't designed accordingly from an electrical infrastructure standpoint. So I would recommend approval of this. The 3 invoices. There's an invoice for $220, an invoice for $4,048.50, and then an invoice for $950. These three invoices are attributed to the work that I have described. Then we also attached, just for the board's knowledge, the spreadsheet for the history of the concession operation or that down at North Point Pavilion, specifically with Sunset Grill in this past year. So I think it has only potential to grow. And I know Mr. Wilkins has some interesting ideas for the future. And you got to look at what they did this past year with almost losing the entire month of May because of weather. Obviously, it wasn't very fruitful, as you can see. So if we can get a longer extended season, I know that he would be happy about that as well. So I'd be happy to answer any questions that the board may have. This is something that Mr. Wilkins and I and Mr. Lashford have discussed in the past. But to get to this point, I want to thank Mr. Wilkins for his time and effort into this and his, I guess, attention to the detail when it comes to what he is requesting. So happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Jeremy. Any questions? I'll only add that if we remember, he took over that lease, and it was a very quick turnaround from the previous tenant to the new tenant. And as he got in there, these were some immediate things that need to be taken care of, and he didn't come back and necessarily ask. He just fixed them.
Mhm.
So that's why he is now asking for credit for that work, which we would have been responsible to do anyway.
So do we need to put this in the form of a motion? That,
We do. First, I'll ask if there's any questions from the public. Okay, then I would say yes.
I would like to so move that we give Mr. Wilkins this credit to the tune of $5,218.50 for the year 2020.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you. The next item is the Michigan City Area Schools Color Run request.
Thank you. And Ashley Kohler was unable to be here this evening due to not being able to get a babysitter. So I told her no worries. This is something that the Michigan City High School has done for the past couple years. The incoming class, or the class of 22 now this year, looking to host a color run on Saturday, May 16th of 2020. And this is for to help pay for class expenses for hosting the senior prom and for hosting prom, I should say, and then the senior class picnic. They're hoping to start the event at 9 a.m. At the tennis shelter, and their route is depicted in here by a map running down Lakeshore Drive and around. Same route as they did last year. They're looking this year for a superhero-themed fun run, and they are requesting waiver of fees for the use of the shelter. And I'll just remind the board that when the Michigan City Park Department requests use of facilities for the Michigan City area schools, that fees are waived for us due to our partnership with the Michigan City area schools. So with that, I would highly recommend approval this evening. I'd be happy to answer any questions the board may have.
Thank you, Jeremy. Any questions?
I just have one, just for my own knowledge. I was looking at the map that they provided, and it's a little bit difficult to read, but apparently this race is going completely down Lakeshore Drive.
Yeah, on the back page, I don't know if you've looked at that one. It gives a little bit better depiction, or at least kind of more clear. But yeah, it'll be within the park, and then they'll go down Lakeshore Drive, but then around the neighborhood as well. Washington Boulevard, Center Street, kind of around Dune Billy's, around Canada Park there. They'll use a little bit of that neighborhood as a portion of their run. Similar to the Run for Preston route, similar to the Zoo 5K route, except they're not on the beach. But then the rest of it will be on Lakeshore Drive and then in Washington Park.
It looks like it may be on the beach for a little bit here. If you go back to the third page.
It's cut off there.
Yeah, they go on the beach. They cut
so
down
this is
Georgia Ave.
This is a Zoo 5K route. That's really what it is.
All right.
Or close to it. And I will also mention, because this has come up in the past, that for the color run itself, all of the color, that they're all biodegradable, so there's no harm to the environment or to Washington Park in specifically. So.
I noticed that Sergeant Kaplan already has okayed this route, so no problem with the police.
And they already have their hold harmless agreement filled out as well. So we have everything we need from them from a standpoint. They're just seeking approval at this point.
I'd also like to mention, in light of our in-kind, or our partnership with them, this is almost an in-kind contribution. With as much as we utilize their services, this is a fair exchange in return, in my opinion. Any question?
This date, is there any conflict with anything else that is going on?
No, we should be fine on this date. The only thing would be dependent upon what ends up happening with our parking operation. Sometimes we do start weekends, 1 to 2
Depending on-
weekends
yeah.
prior to Memorial Day.
Understandable.
So, but we can work that out accordingly. And with a 9 a.m. start, I mean, the majority of people are going to be in before we would even start charging anyway.
Right.
But there would be some minimal coordination with our staff just to make sure roads were shut down for the safety of those participants.
Thank you, Jeremy.
I read through this. I didn't. What about weather? What about a rain date? I didn't see anything mentioned. Did they just go ahead and run it?
unless there's gale force winds and
No,
we
just
got a real
go ahead
bad
and
storm, it's a rain or shine type of an event. Hopefully
Okay.
not snow or shine, but in Vegas, it seems like the delay in winter this year. But event plans to go on. I mean, barring severe weather.
Runners are tough.
Yeah, they are.
Any questions from the public? Hearing none, what's the pleasure of the board?
I would move that we allow, excuse me, the class of 2020 from Michigan City High School to use the facility for their color run on May 16th of this year. And waive the fees that they asked to be waived.
I would second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Next item on our agenda is resolution number 914, and this has to do with the 2019 budget, where we have certain funds that are necessary within the budget of Michigan City Department of Park and Recreation because of unanticipated expenses from various accounts, which accounts do not have sufficient funds available for disbursement for said expenses, and where there are some funds available for said expenses in other accounts, which are not expected to be paid from said accounts during the remainder of 2019. So it's just moving funds from one account to another, all within our budget, not increasing or not asking for any additional funds. It's just a movement. And that movement is decreasing Fund 2056503, Recreational Operating Fund Seasonal Wages, and moving that money into the same 2056.503, that's the Recreational Operating Fund, Pesticides and Chemicals for $9,100. Unless there are any questions or comments, do you have a motion to approve?
I so move that we approve resolution number 914.
I'll be
Second.
happy to second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Any other new business tonight?
No, sir.
Thank you. Report of officers, Jeremy, please.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I just want to, again, give many thanks to our maintenance staff for their hard work in putting up the holiday lights display. Again, this year, it was a huge success from the standpoint of the feedback from the community and the appreciation of the number of people dropping off cookies and hot chocolate to just thanks and their gratitude for it. It's a lot of hard work that usually begins in late October with checking lights and going all the way up until the point of turning them on that first Saturday in December. So by the time they're completed putting up, the maintenance department doesn't want to go home and put any of their own decorations up. But they are very thankful and feel appreciated once when they receive that type of feedback. So just want to put it on the board's radar that moving forward, if we are going to continue to have the expansive light display that we do, there's going to have to be some significant investment. A lot of our displays and lighting are old lighting. We're burning out bulbs, and everything is going to LED now. So we're not able to just replace certain aspects of it. We're having to replace the entire display itself. So it is starting to get expensive, and I look forward to that conversation with Mayor Perry as well to get an understanding of how we want to approach this moving forward. Again, it's something we do love doing for the community because of how they enjoy it, and we just want to make sure that we have some funding mechanisms in place to continue to enhance the display annually. With that being said, we are already currently beginning to take down some of the lights as much as we can. Today was a little tough in the wind, and we will continue. We're actually getting kind of a break here from Mother Nature than what we have in previous years. So we're going to do as much as we can, get it down as quickly as we can. However, depending on some of the displays, how they're staked into the ground, if the ground is frozen, that is why a lot of times the lights stay up when people are still calling us and complaining in March. And or we have a wet season and it doesn't freeze very much, and to drive onto the grass and the lawn, it just tears everything up. So we have to really kind of weigh that out and balance that in the process of taking everything down. We will do our due diligence, and they were out there yesterday already taking lights down, trying to do some today. We're hoping to get with what seems like a nicer day tomorrow from a temperature standpoint, hopefully getting some more of the lights down. So just wanted to make sure the board was aware of that, but the maintenance staff is working very hard. We've also begun doing some initial cleanup in the park, some of the sand removal that's in the parking lot. We've been hauling a lot of sand over the last 2 days. Staff's been working hard on that as well. And furthermore, we're in the process of going around to all of our neighborhood playgrounds, looking at the equipment, inspecting the equipment, handling any repairs that might be needed to those play sets and equipment in our neighborhood parks. So a lot on the table from a maintenance department standpoint. Something else I want to bring up, which I know has made the paper, I know it's kind of headlines around here, and I know Mr. Manor probably is aware of this just as much as anybody, but with our lake levels and the way and what we understand and projected to rise another 5, maybe 6 inches prior to by May of this year, they're looking at a recorded record high and surpassing the reported record high in 1986. And at that point in time, I believe the water was up to the front wall. And some people, I think Shannon and I have heard her say that it was 5 feet deep in areas off the front wall. So if we do continue to get these rise in lake levels, I know we have some other neighboring communities that are seeing a lot of erosion and more significant damage than what we are. I know the Port Authority has a high stake in this conversation as well. But we can't just let this go without being aware of it, knowledgeable of it, potentially addressing it. We're going to have some safety potential safety issues down our lakefront in response time with lifeguards. If we don't have a beach that we can traverse down. So there's a litany of items that need to be continuously discussed and how we're going to approach those if and in fact, even at this point where the lake is right now, if we get a north wind and we get waves, we cannot get down the beach in certain areas. There's some real pinch points. So to that end, I just want to keep this topic and this conversation going because it could be something that is even worse come May. Or we have a few more obstacles and hurdles to get over or at least address moving into the season. So again, just want to continue to bring it up. If I do hear any more information or there's more models or predictions that come out based off of these lake levels, I will be sure to pass it on. But I definitely want to keep this a focus of our conversation and our thought process moving into the season. With that said, planning for the upcoming year is in full swing. Events and Rec Coordinator Abigail Kukta is coming back next week from her maternity leave, and I plan to meet with her as soon as she gets her head above water upon her return and take a more aggressive approach regarding some programming here in Michigan City and through the Michigan City Park Department. I think it's important for us to engage some of our residents and look at that. Hey, what are some of those needs out there? What needs are not being met? A few years ago, we worked with, whether it was the YMCA, Boys and Girls Clubs, other leagues and programs that are already being offered, not to, offer the same programming and take away from participants. But now I'm starting to hear from residents that certain things aren't being offered. So we want to really dive back in and look at that. I think it's very important to not just be the Michigan City Park Department, but be the Michigan City Parks and Recreation Department. So I think it's advantageous that we do that. So I'm looking forward to coming up with a game plan. I've already started to map some things out on my end. I want to share with her, and then we're going to hit the ground running as soon as she returns. We're also looking at introducing specials to the Michigan City Golf Course to enhance play on certain days where we have slow days or downtime. They're servicing the cart fleet right now, just because it's winter time. Although between Christmas and New Year's, we got over 300 rounds of golf due to the great weather we had, which really helped us finish the year strong at the Michigan City Golf Course. So I'm happy about that. But there is continuous work being done. They can continue to do fall cleanup and leaf cleanup that they weren't able to get to prior to the end of the year. So there's constantly things going on. After record attendance at the zoo, the staff is continuing to look at fresh ideas to implement in the 2020 season to continue to bring those people out and then some. We're hoping to beat our record that we just set. Planning even a bigger season at Patriot Park with tournaments and league play than we had in 2019. At your next meeting, I'm hoping to have a renewal or another year of the NSA BPA contract that has proven so fruitful for us. So I'm working with Jack Arnett from the Convention and Visitors Bureau, as well as Carl Swihart from the NSA. We should have that completed and in front of you hopefully next meeting. Tara is doing a great job with her staff, and they're offering new, exciting programs every year for the members of the Senior Center. Our maintenance staff continues to work on several projects within the confines of our budget. I think that's very important to note. Is we have done a lot of things, whether they're shelter repairs, certain repairs to buildings, or building new shelters, building kiosks, different things that we don't necessarily budget for, but we find it within the confines of our budget to do. Right now, we're repairing all our picnic tables. We're building additional barricades because a lot of our barricades are broken and we don't have enough. So wintertime might not see us out and about, but we're in the shop, we're still getting things done. One thing moving forward into this season, as Shannon and I have discussed, is with our parking operation. We're having a complete overhaul, at least that's what we anticipate, of our supervisor staff. And we're looking for supervisors. We're looking for quality staff to come down to be a part of our parking operation in Washington Park. I'm looking at probably a monumental turnover in the lifeguard operation. So it's very important. I've met with the Michigan City area schools for a potential to have a lifeguard certification class. We're taking baby steps. It's trying to find instructors to certify their staff to, and with the park department being at the table potentially from a monetary standpoint. But I think if we can invest in a program like that, we're basically investing in ourselves. And I think it proves, again, fruitful for us in that nature. But we're excited and eager for 2020. I'm really eager to work with Mayor Perry on the many projects we have in the queue, or at least we had in the queue, regarding for example, the Feline House further implementation of Washington Park Master Plan, Singing Sands Trail, our Water Tower Park renovation that we have the CDBG grant for, just to name a few. So there's a lot of things going on. There's a lot of projects to be excited about, and I'm ready to rock and roll. So I just want to thank the board for their support, and want to congratulate Mr. Lashford on your reappointment to the Michigan City Park Board. I'd be happy to answer any questions the board may have.
Thank you, Jeremy. It's going to be exciting 2020, and that doesn't happen without thought and planning, which you and your team are obviously actively engaged in. So well done. You're welcome. Any other questions or comments for Jeremy?
Just one comment. Several weeks ago, walking along the lakefront, and I had mentioned to you about a tremendous amount of, I don't know if you want to call it detritus plants, right? Almost like a seaweed that was feet deep, washed up on the lakeshore. And the other day I was down there and it's all gone. So I don't know if your group was down there removing it. But I know there was a Caterpillar tractor down there moving sand, but as far as getting rid of that on the lakeshore, it's no longer there, which is great. It's just something less to remove in the spring.
Absolutely, and one of our maintenance staff was gone on vacation to end the year, took the last few weeks of December off because that's when he saves all his vacation, which is great. But now that he's back, that's all he's doing. He's in the tractor and he's out on the beach. So
It was
as
a
much as we
monumental-
can do to stay ahead of it,
Yes.
I think and at the end of the day, the weather's staying nice. People are out on the beach, so we want to make
Yes.
sure it's as safe and as clean as possible, no matter what time of year.
Yeah,
it
well,
is.
the shoreline was great. Yeah, that was all gone. So my hat's off to you guys.
Any other questions?
No, just comment about the parks. I go around and check the parks periodically, and two of them in particular, because I'm either coming down here or going to the east side. But Gardena and Pullman are in great shape. I mean, of course, there's leaves collected along the fence, but anybody who has a fence in the yard knows why that is. But Pullman, go by the Pullman at night with the lights on. That skate park is just, it's an eye catcher. It's beautiful, and as is the park. And Gardena's in good shape also. The snow hasn't covered up any of the blemishes that it usually does, but we don't have that many. It's in good shape.
Thank you, Phil. Any other comments? All right, thanks, Jeremy. Move on to the liaison reports, and I'm the Planning Commission liaison, and there wasn't a meeting since our last meeting. Mr. Freeze, the Port Authority?
I really don't have anything to report. They elected new officers, and I won't be at the next meeting because just won't be there. I'll be able to make it.
Okay, thank you. And the Zoo Society liaison, Mr. Lang?
The last meeting of the Zoological Society in December was actually a holiday celebration. They will not have a meeting in January. This is something that they normally do, that month is a time that they do not meet. But they do have a committee that is working right now diligently on a big fundraiser that occurs in late winter, early spring, called the Zubilee. And they have been busy working on that. I have no details on it right now because the committee is I think they just had one meeting, but they are actively working on that at this time.
Thank you, Mr. Lang. Jeremy, do we have any attorneys' reports tonight?
No, sir.
Thank you. Directors' reports? Any?
No, sir.
Thank you. That brings us to Department Finances. Mr. Lang, please.
All right. Michigan City Park Department claims docket for January the 8th, 2020, municipal $9,754.13. Nothing for zoo endowment. Total claims amounting to $9,754.13. And I so move that we pay this claims docket for January the 8th, 2020.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries.
Next is payroll number 26, 2019. The pay date is December the 20th of 2019, and total payroll is $45,184.25. And I would like to make a motion that we meet that payroll number 26 for 2019 of $45,184.25.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries.
Next is payroll number 1 for 2020. This is with a pay date of January the 3rd of 2020, and total payroll of $42,282.39. And I would so move that we meet payroll number 1, 2020, of $42,282.39.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries.
Next is on reports of gifts and donations, and at this time, we have nothing there under minor transfers. And keep in mind, again, on these minor transfers, all we are doing is we are moving some funds around, decreasing funding from one account and moving that money to another. So all that is a movement of monies. We're not adding or subtracting anything from the budget, just shifting payments around. And so we have under a minor transfer here, Zoo Fund, $2,056.507, a decrease in line item 411 overtime of $1,565, a decrease in line item 413, unemployment of 661, an increase in line item 411.013, regular salary and wages, an increase in account number 411.014, seasonal wages of $21. Also, a decrease in account number 422.034, zoo food, $261, and an increase in account number 422.021, gasoline, also of $261. And I would like to make a motion that we make these transfers, and we meet that payment.
Second?
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Under Maintenance Fund 2056, a decrease in account number 435.040 of water, $148, and an increase in account number 432.040 telephone, also amounting to $148. And I so move that we make that change in Maintenance Fund 2056.
Second?
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries.
In Senior Center Fund number 2056, a decrease in account number 413, sick buyback, $47, an increase in account number 411, regular salary / wages of $47. And I so move that we make this change in Senior Center Fund, 2056.
Second?
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Pardon me. And the last one is Golf Fund, number 2062. My voice holds out. A decrease in account number 411, overtime 971, and an increase in account number 411.013, regular salary / wages of $971. And I so move that we make that change in Golf Fund number 2062.
Second?
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries.
And that is all I have.
Well done.
Thank you.
Any comments from the public tonight?
Do I need to state my name again?
Please.
Alina Yersaida, 125 East Harrison Street.
Hello.
I'm used to coming to the council meetings, so I didn't know if that was something I had to do here. First of all, I'd like to say that the lights at Washington Park, voila. We go there every year. I always see something different. This year, we noticed the dinosaurs. We didn't notice them last year, although I had pictures of them. So it was kind of cool to see them again. We also visit Sunset Farms, and I don't know if any of you are familiar with that. But when we go through there, we often see businesses who have donated trees and or lights and have a plaque. And I didn't know if there was a program in place and or a donation box as they have there. Those are just some of the ideas that we had been talking about. The donation box is locked. It's in a nice little case. It would be nice to be able to roll through and drop some money in there for lights. Also, the local businesses, Lowe's is one of them that donates to Sunset Farms. They have a nice plaque. Sometimes they do a laminate type paper and put it on an already framed wood frame. And I think they hold little contests for them. So that's another idea, to reach out to the box stores to say, hey, look, we're having this downtown. You can go from there with it, but I thought it would be a good idea to kind of bring it up and get the wheels turning on that. I'm always wanting to have people donate to the park or in some kind of way improve the park, and I do know that some of the lights do need to be changed. We noticed some of them out. Some of them weren't as bright as the other displays. But one thing I will say about Michigan City Lights is it's just not, like for instance, we went to Lincoln Park Zoo Festival of Lights, and those were beautiful, and they did have some good displays. But in comparison to what's going on in Michigan City, you have displays of lights of situations of scenes going on, which it makes it really nice. The kids love it. We love getting out, walking in it. It just looks like some fairy tale wonderland. And the lights that were put onto the trees this year, not with just the displays, were really nice. It made it pop nice. So I just want to say thank you to the park department for that. It was a nice display, and I'd like to see a little bit more of that in the future as well.
Thank you for your comment and suggestions. Any other public comments? Good evening.
Good evening. Bruce Matter from the Michigan City Port Authority. I just wanted to say a little bit about the high water levels that Jeremy was referring to. The Michigan City Port Authority is very, very well aware, of course, of what's going on. We are formulating a plan right now to address this situation. One of the things that is helping us out right now is the fact that we are redecking all of our decks and all of our walkways out there with new boards. This allows us an easier access to the electrical stuff that is underneath of those decks and those boards. We have also did a major upgrade of all of our electrical system out there. So if one boater would trip, that would trip all of the boaters on that dock. Well, our change in our electrical, now if one boater trips, it only trips him, and it shows us on our main board that the boat is causing the problem. But in redecking these things, that's going to be part of what we're doing to alleviate the electrical problems with high water. Of course, the 800 docks, they're all cement docks, but we are also, and which are higher. Most of our docks, like the 3, 4, and 5 docks, they are our lowest, or 4, 5, and 6. They are our lowest docks out there. So if we do have flooding, which we have had in the past, we were lucky this year because we did have flooding, but for some reason the boxes under there were protected enough to where the water didn't get in them. If the water does get in them, we have a big problem because they are mounted this way and not this way, so they won't drain. So if water gets in those, so that's something else we're looking at. The 800 dock that I mentioned also is with the cement docks. We are putting pedestals up on them and redoing all the electrics on all the 800 docks and stuff. So these are just some of the things that I thought you might be interested in that we're addressing. But I know you're certainly going to be addressing that as far as the park's concerned, and we'd be more than willing to talk with you and see if there's anything that we can help out with. So I just wanted to pass that on to you.
Thank you, Mr. Manner. Thanks
Okay.
for explaining that, and for your partnership. We always, the park and the Port Authority always work together for the good of the community.
Yeah, I think we get along pretty well.
Yeah,
There have been times when we haven't, but we like to forget about that.
exactly.
Thank you.
Thanks again. All right, any comments from the board tonight?
I don't have any.
All right, hearing none, we have a motion to adjourn.
So move.